Hello. It's good weather continues, doesn't it? Another hot, balmy day here in Plymouth. Our Gospel for this Sunday, 17th Sunday in Ordinary Time. A reading from the Holy Gospel according to John. Jesus went off to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. A large crowd followed him, impressed by the signs he gave by curing the sick. Jesus climbed the hillside and sat down there with his disciples. It was shortly before the Jewish feast of Passover. Looking up, Jesus saw the crowds approaching and said to Philip, "Where can we buy some bread for these people to eat?" He only said this to test Philip. He knew exactly what he was going to do. Philip answered, 200 denarii would only buy enough to give them a small piece each. One of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said, "There is a small boy here with 5 barley loaves and 2 fish, but what is that between so many?" Jesus said to them, "Make the people sit down." There was plenty of grass there, and as many as 5,000 men sat down. And Jesus took the loaves, gave thanks, and gave them out to all who were sitting ready. He then did the same with the fish, giving out as much as was wanted. When they had eaten enough, he said to the disciples, "Pick up the pieces left over, so that nothing gets wasted." They picked them up and filled 12 hampers with scraps left over from the meal of 5 barley loaves. The people, seeing the sign that he had given, said, "This really is the prophet who has come into the world." Jesus, who could see they were about to come and take him by force and make him king, escaped back to the hills by himself. The Gospel of the Lord. We'll all be familiar with that feeding of the 5,000, that incredible miracle. But there's some lovely detail which we can reflect on written in the lines there, which can be inspiring for us. First of all, look at what is happening. There's a large crowd there, and Jesus says, "Let's feed them." Philip says a pretty kind of practical point. We need 200 denarii to give them a small piece each. What is that about amongst so many? What good will that do? Then, maybe in the absence of any more answers, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, said, "Look, there's a small boy here. He's got 5 loaves and 2 fish. Maybe the little boy just kind of come up and offered. And he said, "We've got this, but, again, what is that amongst so many?" What does Jesus do? What is offered, small as it is, he takes it and he blesses it, and it is in abundance. Everyone is fed. 5,000 plus are fed as much as they want. There's another little detail as well, that even the scraps left over, Jesus said, "Let nothing be wasted." There's 12 baskets full of scraps. What can we glean from this? Often in life, maybe we do things with good intentions, some good act or some act of kindness, and we think how small an effort that is really. What's its significance? Never be dismayed by that. This gospel can teach us. Whenever we do anything, we should ask as Christians, obviously, the Lord to bless what we're doing, to bless our efforts, bless our work. What might seem so small and insignificant, the Lord can make into a big, big thing. Let's give the Lord a chance by inviting him in to bless what we're doing. I'll give 2 examples to that. About 20 years ago, a man called Magnus McFarland was very aware of third world poverty, and that children weren't getting even one decent meal a day, and they were almost too weak to go to school or to bother with school. So he put the 2 things together. Let's give them a kind of one square meal a day at school. Then it gives them the nutrition for their energy. It also gives them the education and the incentive to get educated. A wonderful combination of ideas. And he took that idea, went to a country, got the local people to grow the food, the women in the village to cook it, etc. And literally, for the price of about £14 a year, they can feed a child. What great idea. How many people are now being fed by that? staggering sum of over 1.8 million children around the world. An idea, as a Catholic Christian, that he put before the Lord. I said, "Is this your will? Bless it." Look what happened. Another example, back in 1940, a priest was ordained called Father Werenfried von Straten. He was ordained during the war. After the war, as we know, Germany was divided between the East and the West. West was free, East was the communists. 14,000 were displaced from the East, didn't want to live under communist rule. And 14 million were displaced, and 6 million of them were Catholics. But the reality was that a lot of people, although they were living in a lot of poverty and had nothing, a lot of people weren't too interested because, well, you started the war type of thing. And he went round and rallied people, say, "Come on, these people are starving, they need our help." And he started getting food for these people. And also, this is for the 14 million he was endeavouring to do this for as best he could. But for the 6 million, he not only gave them food, but he also converted a few trucks into kind of travelling mass centres, where a priest then would say mass for the 6 million Catholics who are often in heavily Protestant areas with no Catholic churches. So he not only provided food for their stomachs and help for them, but also spiritual food as well. It's on that point maybe that I turn to the second point of the Gospel today, which I want to pick up on. Obviously, when we think of feeding, Jesus giving us bread, it prefigures, looks towards that ultimate gift in abundance of himself in Holy Communion. This is the start of John chapter 6. The rest of that chapter, Jesus talks about giving himself. He says, "I am the bread of life. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood will have life in me." You think of those 12 baskets full of scraps as well at the end. We said nothing must be wasted. It's all tied in, isn't it, with him dying on the cross where his body is broken so that he can be the food of life for us. That through the bread of life we receive his body and blood sacrificed on the cross. This is the ultimate food, ultimate spiritual food of Jesus himself, the living Lord, blood, body, soul, and divinity. Body, blood, soul, and divinity, which he gives to us in the Eucharist. I do think there's a significance as well. When we think of 12 baskets full, we think of the 12 tribes of Israel that made up the people of God, the people of Israel. When you put things in a basket, you want to take it somewhere, don't you? So he's wanting to take it back metaphorically to the people of Israel. And the people of Israel also would become the new universal church, the Catholic Christian church, when Jesus establishes that new covenant with all mankind at the Last Supper, when he gives his body and gives his blood, the bread of life. All these beautiful connections flow from this, doesn't it? The gift of Jesus in the Eucharist. He is the bread of life, the body and blood that he gives us to eat. This is the ultimate food for us. So in summary then, what I've said. First of all, whenever we do something, no matter how small, what we think is insignificant, for someone with good intent, ask the Lord to bless it. The Lord dreams big, very often. And also, let's have an appreciation for Jesus in the Eucharist. What a gift, which should always be treated with absolute reverence for the magnitude of what we're receiving, the bread of life, Jesus himself, body, blood, soul, and divinity. Can we ever have more grateful hearts for what a gift? Let's always keep that in mind. God bless.